What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're going to talk about the latest double game week announcements. We have had a couple more double game weeks confirmed for game week 20. We're going to look at which teams they are, what fixtures they've got, what the fixture runs are for those teams, and just some initial thoughts. And then we'll talk more about that during the game week preview, transfer tips, and team selection videos for later this week as well. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and let's jump into it. So the two teams that are now doubling in game week 20, which is kind of new information to us, is Man United and Crystal Palace. So Man United will play Man City at home and Crystal Palace away, which is not necessarily great because Man City are obviously in such good form, such a good team. But ultimately, those of you with Rashford like me, or maybe those of you that brought Shaw in recently, are probably quite happy about that. Crystal Palace have got a tough one, Chelsea away and Man United at home, but they're the other team now that have a confirmed double for game week 20. So if you remember in game week 19 and 18, we were talking about how it was a possibility. I think on the last deadline stream, I was considering getting Luke Shaw, and I didn't bother just in case they didn't get a double, and now I've missed out on a 15 point and I've got to pay more money for him. So if you're in the same boat as me, extremely frustrating, but it is what it is. And then the only other thing to kind of briefly mention is Man City and Spurs double in game week 20, which we already knew about, is now confirmed because of the results in the FA Cup. So if either of those sides have had to have played a replay in the FA Cup, their double would have been off, but because of the results, it's definitely on as well. So just to confirm, Man City will play Man United away and Spurs at home, and Spurs will play Arsenal at home and Man City away. So judging by the fixture difficulty rating colours that I've chosen, it's not really a great double game week for any of them, but as you know, I love having an extra fixture for any player, so it is worth still kind of thinking about, right? So just to go into the fixture run, so this is the fixtures they've got immediately after the double. So Man United again, Man City at home, Palace away, then it's straight into Arsenal away, which is not necessarily ideal, but given how good someone like Rashford is playing right now, obviously we're not going to get rid of him. He's still worth looking to bring in this week as well, despite having to play City and Arsenal in the next kind of 2 game weeks. Then it's Palace at home, Leeds away, Leicester at home, and Brentford at home. So given the improvement in Man United's defence, I still don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to think about bringing in a Man United defender this week. Whether or not that's your priority for your team will depend on the rest of your setup. Like, I know that in game week 17 I got 104 points, and yet 2 game weeks later I'm thinking my team's an absolute mess. I've still got Reece James, Cancelo. I don't know what's going on with him. I need to have a bit of a think about that over this next week, but it might still be worth bringing in a Man United defender despite that City fixture, because they're still kind of cheap enough you could bench them against Arsenal if you needed to. And then Palace, Leeds, Leicester, Brentford. There's not too many fixtures there I would worry about having to play a Man United defender if I needed to. Obviously, the other option is Martial. There's talk about them possibly bringing Weghorst in on loan, so we'll have to see what kind of happens with minutes and stuff like that. I wouldn't be massively confident about Martial's minutes going forward necessarily in terms of getting to regular 90 minutes. But again, if you've already got him, you probably just keep hold of him for now. And again, we'll discuss that a little bit more as the week goes on. So City have got those 2 fixtures we already knew about. Then it's Wolves at home, Spurs away. Then it's another double game week in 23. So it's worth kind of reminding yourself about that. Then it's Forest and Bournemouth. So if you can, you really want to have the right Man City players. Now I know what you're thinking, Andy. Who are the right Man City players? I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've got to start giving serious consideration to Rico Lewis. Pep keeps talking him up. He also keeps playing, which is a good thing, right? He's only 3.9 million. That price will quickly go up when people realise he's getting regular minutes. I don't know if it's a concern or just like I've heard from Pep too much in the past, and he's caused so many problems from an FPL point of view. But part of me thinks it's great that he's talking Rico Lewis up, and that's obviously a positive for him. But I wonder how much of it is to get a reaction out of someone like Cancelo or Kyle Walker and players like that. Champions League and stuff's going to be back soon. Will Pep actually be happy to keep playing Rico Lewis in those fixtures? Maybe he will. If he's good enough, he's good enough. We've seen Pep play young players before, but I think we've got to give him serious consideration. I'll talk a little bit more about Man City players soon, but for that fixture run, despite having some difficult fixtures in there, like United, Spurs again in 22, Arsenal as part of the 23 double, ideally I would have a triple up on Man City that I would just leave in for those 6 weeks. and then obviously just hope for the best. Spurs have got probably the most difficult double, I would say. Arsenal at home and Man City away, the two best teams in the league right now. And they do then run into Man City again in game week 22. In 25, they got Chelsea. I don't know if we need to worry too much about Spurs players, but I am seriously considering Kane. I've just left myself, for my own team at least, a difficult way to bring him in. But I think he probably is the best option. Like, he's not that many points behind Haaland, and we all think that Haaland's having this completely ridiculous season, which he is. But Kane's on 19 returns from 18 games. He's on penalties. His minutes are good. Like, I wouldn't say I've missed the boat. I've obviously missed some points for him. It hasn't really hurt me massively, but I would like to get him in if I can. Outside of that, there's not a huge amount of other options. And I think with Crystal Palace, despite them having a double this week, I think we can just completely ignore them. If you're someone that went for Zaha, because I think it was Fulham and Bournemouth in 17 and 18, then maybe you got to 19, you didn't have a spare transfer, so you just kept hold of him. If you had Zaha, you'd probably keep him with the double game week, but I don't think I would go out of my way to bring in any Crystal Palace players, because the double's not great. Then it's Newcastle, who've been very good. Man United, who are getting better and better. It's just not a kind fixture on. Brighton is not a pushover. Then you've got to go away to Brentford, and then you've got to play Liverpool. And look, they're still conceding goals, I get that, but there's no one from Crystal Palace that makes me want to go out and just buy them. So if you've got someone like Zaha, great. If you happen to have a defender or a goalkeeper or something like that, then maybe you could keep hold of him, but I don't think you're going out of your way to buy Crystal Palace players. So just to kind of confirm some initial thoughts, none of the double game week 20 fixtures are super exciting. That doesn't mean we should ignore them, but given that Man City have a double and everybody, and I almost mean that literally, I know it won't be literally everyone, but it's almost going to be everyone, will captain Haaland. You don't need to worry about where your captain is coming from. So if you can't get to, let's just say you've got a team that's got a lot of issues and you can only get in like one of De Bruyne or Rashford or something like that, I don't think you need to massively stress about not being able to get the other player, because everyone's going to captain Haaland anyway, right? So none of them are that exciting, but there are some pretty good fixtures afterwards for the likes of City, maybe Man United as well, and possibly Spurs if you can get to someone like Harry Kane. Definitely avoid buying Crystal Palace players, I would say. Man United players might even be worth a hit. Same with Harry Kane as well. I know what people will think, well, one of the fixtures is Man City, and I get that, but you're buying an extra fixture and a pretty good fixture run afterwards, so it could be worth it, right? And as it says at the bottom, we might still get double game week 21 announcements before the game week 20 deadline. So there's a possibility that other teams could double, like Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. So that might change our strategies again. So don't go straight away buying Man United players and Spurs players, because it might be that you're better off buying players from other teams possibly, right? So we'll have to wait and see on that. I guess we're going to have to wait until as close to the deadline as possible. I think Luke Shaw's a great pick. I think if you've already got him, there's no need to worry. I think in the FA Cup he played left centre-back again. I've been a bit off the radar in terms of football the last few days. I took a few days off, but I think he played left centre-back. But generally, it's going to be Martinez and Varane, and Luke Shaw will play left-back. But Dalot is back now, and he's a little bit cheaper. And I know Wan-Bissaka played okay, but I don't think he's anywhere... And I'm not saying Dalot is a world beater, because he's not, but I don't think Wan-Bissaka is anywhere near Dalot in terms of how he is going forward. So Dalot could be a slightly cheaper pick there if you didn't have the money to go for Luke Shaw. For City, definitely take note that they've got 6 fixtures in the next kind of... I've put 3 games. I think it's 4 game weeks, right? They got the double in 23. Either way, right? A couple of extra fixtures there over the next 3 to 4 game weeks. Definitely worth looking at. I think a lot of people are going to ask me about Rico Lewis over the next week, and ultimately I'm not going to know if he's nailed on, but I think for 3.9 million he may well be worth the risk. Obviously Mahrez is playing quite a lot, but you know what happens if you've played FPL for a while, you know what happens when you buy Mahrez. He stops getting in a team, or he stops returning. Maybe we go back to Foden. I think he scored against Chelsea in the FA Cup. Possibly he's going to be back into the team. Now, it's really hard to know. I think ultimately Haaland's one of them. You can maybe take a punt on someone like Rico Lewis. If you wanted to go a bit more expensive, John Stones might be the next best option in that defence. And then it's probably De Bruyne for midfield. And if you're someone with Salah like me, there's a serious consideration to go to De Bruyne. I know it's not new news that City have a double, but the double is here now, so we have to start deciding how we're going to get our triple up, if that's what the route we want to go for. You could just go for double Man City and just, you know, hope there's enough rotation with the other players that it doesn't matter about owning them. But I know for me, the best, I know they're not literally the best team in the league, but I always think they're the team that can go out and get the most goals and clean sheets with 2 doubles over the next 3 to 4 games. I want the triple up, and Salah to De Bruyne is definitely going to be a consideration for me. It just depends on how many other transfers I end up needing to make. Outside of Kane, I just think Son is a bit expensive for what he's doing right now. I think against Crystal Palace, I caught some of the second half there. Kane seems to be dropping in a little bit deeper at times. Obviously, still got his goals and did really well. But that might be better for Son. We've seen that connection a little bit more where Kane's almost playing as a number 10. But I think it's a little bit risky to go out of your way now to buy Son for the price he is. So you could look at Perisic and Doherty. There's obviously always minutes concerns over those two. They may come off early in matches. They may miss the odd one. But I think they are the 2 best wing-backs for Spurs. If you wanted to take a bit of a punt, they are the 2 to go for. But obviously we know from the doubles that Spurs have, you know, Arsenal and City, there's very little chance of a clean sheet in either game, so you really are just backing the attacking potential. But Doherty's under 5 million. It could be worth it. It's just whether or not you want to go for, you know, Spurs defenders for the run after that. Like Fulham away, could Mitrovic score against Spurs? I wouldn't bet against it. Then it's City, that's difficult for a clean sheet. Leicester away is not that easy either. So I think you are kind of hoping for the odd clean sheet over that run, and then obviously hoping that they also get some attacking returns as well. So I don't think too many people will go for Perisic or Doherty, but let's wait and see. And like I said, we've still got double game week 21 announcements to come. So that was just a short video. This was announced today. I've been away since, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday. I only got back today, and 20 minutes after I got back to the house, the double game weeks were confirmed. So I thought I'd do a quick reaction video. Like I said, we've got transfer tips, game week preview, team selection, deadline streams, all that good stuff over the next week in the run-up to game week 20. And if we get any double game week 21 announcements, I'll make sure to talk about them again. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you're glad to see more double game weeks, give it a like, hit subscribe, let me know in the comments section what you think, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.